Welcome back to another MOTOBOB video where today you join me for a very special video because we're at the MV Agusta factory in Varese. We're going to go on a little factory tour and see how an MV Agusta bike comes to life. So let's go! So we're in a kind of initial holding area for some of the parts. This isn't the main parts store for MV, that's about 10 kilometers away. Here they just hold bits like we've got the exhaust systems there, the seat unit for some of the Brutales. I can see some Super Veloce wheels down there, and they've got 2 days worth of stuff here. So any bikes built in the next 2 days will be using this stuff. Let's go over here. Just off to one side here, we've got a bit of an assembly area. So some of the initial assembly is done here. So we've got some fuel tanks. I think those are from the Brutale 1000 RR, and they'll have their fuel pumps fitted and then go onto a rig here where they get tested for leaks and all that kind of thing. We've also got lots of headlights here. You'll recognize these if you've seen a Brutale 1000 RR, and we know they're for that bike because here you've got a code. So B for Brutale, 4 for 4-cylinder, so the 1000cc variant, and then RR. Right over the back here as well, there's some Öhlins forks that are coming in to be assembled. So up here we've got them in their lower triple clamps, and then the bearings are pressed on as well and greased there. So it just makes some of the assembly further down the line a little easier. Into the next room here, and this is the machining room. So you'll see some of the cylinder heads in their sort of raw state on some of the trolleys over here. Quite loud, as you can imagine, in this part of the factory. But yeah, come and have a good look at these, Tim. So you can see that these are pretty rough looking. And then once they've come in here, they'll go in for their first machining in this machine here. So a rough machining to get some of that surface a little smoother, let's say. Once that initial machining has been done, then the cylinder heads come over here and they have their valve guides and valve seats put in before they go in for final machining. Now, they were saying the valve seats and guides are done by hand for the 4-cylinder bike still, but there's a jig for the 3-cylinders. And it really is cool to see that raw casting looking very rough and ready. And then you look at something like this and you can really see it coming together. Engine casings as far as the eye can see up here. And then we move to the cleaning area. So there's a guy over here with one of those little pipe cleaner type brushes going through all of the little nooks and crannies and making sure there's no residual little bits of metal left from the machining process. And then the cylinder heads and engine casings go through this cleaning machine at the back there. So everything's ready to go in the next room. So here you can see the machined and cleaned cylinder heads coming in, and then they go around this table in the middle, and this is where the camshafts and valves and springs are all put in. Once that's done, they come over here to the main engine assembly line, and you can see the studs have been put on there, and then it goes around this much longer sort of bench. One thing that was interesting that they were saying here is that each torque wrench is connected to a computer system, and every single bolt for that engine number will go up to the server so that they know that it's torqued correctly. Essentially, that's part of their QC system. Obviously, when the engine then goes into a bike, you've got the engine number against the bike's number, the VIN, and so you can look up the torque settings and quality control for every single bike effectively. All right, so here we can see some of the engines ready to go. We just saw them in the testing room. So they fit an exhaust system, hook it up to their machine, and then run it at certain levels of revs and measure everything and make sure it's all healthy before it goes into a bike. And we've got the main vehicle assembly line over here. So you can see that we've got the main frame. I think this is a Super Veloce, judging by that single round headlight at the front there. So you can see the front part of the frame on this rack and also the rear part over the back there. And let's walk up this assembly line, Tim, and have a look at what we've got hanging up here ready to go on. So we've got the switch gear and throttle and levers, essentially the handlebar assembly there. You can peek through and see each of the bikes coming together. So we've got the frame, the subframe, the swing arm, the forks have gone in by this stage. And here we've got a rack of wheels, and you can see on some of these bikes that the wheels are going on. The braking system is going on. Well, the brake calipers here Here we've got someone fitting a fuel tank as well. You can see actually, look at that, how the fuel, you can have a little look at that. How the fuel tank sort of extends under the seat there, that gives it a bit more capacity, I guess, Tim. It's almost like you want to try and guess the bike when you're coming along here, because it really doesn't look like a Super Veloce in that form. And of course it shares the fuel tank with the F3 as well, so it could be either almost. Front mudguards here. Some nuts and bolts, Tim. I'm not really sure what those are for. Rear wheels gone on at this stage. Here they are, all with the Pirelli Diablo Rosso Corsa 2s. And then exhaust system looks to be one of the last things to go on. So we've got the seat unit, exhaust system here, and the bodywork is later. We'll show you that in a bit. So of course, once the bike's been assembled, it has to be rigorously tested. Firstly, they go up on the benches here and they just run them and make sure that all of the sensors are working. And then they'll move them over here into the booth. And this is where they test the ABS and things like that. So the front wheel goes onto a roller and they test the front ABS system. The rear goes onto a roller and they do the same, of course. And then they do a general vehicle test. And they were saying that things like the transmission and the bike's running well, but also the quick shifter, they'll go up and down the box and make sure that it's all working nice and happily. A nice bit of peaceful calm in here because they call this the dressing room. So it's a little bit quieter. And this is where a lot of the final finishing parts and some of the bodywork goes onto the bike. The idea being that you don't want some of that beautiful carbon and deep, lustrous paint getting scuffed up while it's being assembled. So it makes sense to do that at the very end. And then once this bodywork's gone on, it goes into this really cool light tunnel where they can check the paint for little scuffs and marks. Let's have a look. Super Veloce screens, that seems to be one of the main bikes being built here today. And also the little brown pillion seat there that matches the ones we just saw. And then here we are in my favorite of all of the rooms in the factory. This is final control, they call it. So here you have the tunnel that I was talking about that gives you a really nice even light all over the bike, and you can check it over for any sort of aesthetic imperfections. And then they just line them all up. And I think we have to go around a little bit, Tim, and have a look at what we've got here. So these will be the 800 Brutales and some dragsters as well, all lined up. We've got about 10 here. We've got one of the most exciting looking bikes on the market at the moment, the Rush, with that big disc wheel at the back. Absolutely stunning. And what have we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of those. And those are, 13, 14. And those are some really quite impressive looking bikes. And then as far as the eye can see here, we've got Brutale Thousands, we've got Turismo Veloces over there, and it's just, I mean, it's the sort of place you'd love to come in and take your pick. After they've been inspected again and made sure that everything has come together nicely, they go into their boxes, which we can see over in the corner there, and they'll be off to a dealer and hopefully to a happy customer. A massive thank you to MV Agusta for hosting me and Tim and taking us around the factory today. We've got some amazing other videos coming from our trip here, so do subscribe if you're not already. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one.